Hey everyone, welcome back to Indicted TV. I'm your host Negra. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram. Also, quick shout out to our sponsors, Royalty Honey. Keep it hard, guys. Ladies too. Also, if you don't want to be on my show and you want to stay home, make sure you hire attorney Rosenberg. On today's episode, we have Shane. Welcome to Indicted TV, Shane.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to hear your story.
I really appreciate it. Yeah. I saw you guys and I thought, oh yeah, this is perfect.
This is perfect for me.
Yeah, right.
So tell me, Shane, where are you from? Where did you grow up?
Well,
brothers, sisters? How was the inside of your house?
I was born in Boulder, Colorado, believe it or not. And my brother, he just retired. He was the third highest sheriff in that county.
Oh.
So it's weird because we're like Irish twins. We're only like 11 months apart or whatever.
Okay.
And he is a cop. And when we were little kids, we played cops and robbers. And I was always the robber. He was always the cop. It's a true story, yeah. And my life was normal. I had a grandfather that really loved me, Oscar. And then he dropped dead when I was 12, and nothing was the same. That was it. He was like the glue that kept our family together. And my brother went with my grandmother, and I went to the streets.
Oh, at 12.
Yeah. So I hitchhiked across. I had a friend picking me up to go to the movies that day, and his mom was kind of a hippie. Not she wasn't kind of, she was. And they took me in, but we ended up hitchhiking across the country a couple of times.
At what age?
12, 13, yeah.
Oh my goodness. And what year was this? Just so
76, 76,
okay,
77.
just so everybody could get like a visual of the time, you know?
Yeah, 70s.
Okay.
I'm going to be 60 next year, so I'm an old guy.
You're not
old
that
guy
old.
status. Old guy. Yeah.
Super OG.
Yeah. So yeah, but with that, of course, comes, I grew up in juvenile hall, group homes.
I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
So at what? So you didn't go to junior high or high school.
I did a little, like a couple of months of junior high, and I got busted. That's the first time I ever got a case.
So tell us
And was dispensing dangerous and illegal narcotics, weed. But at the time, weed was a felony.
Yeah.
And the cop that busted me, his name was Detective Dick Dutro. And
it's definitely a dick, huh?
yeah, he's a prick. They sent a Boy Scout in on us. This is the truth. This guy, I know his name, the rat. That was a big lesson for me. He smoked weed with us at the junior high, and I'm selling weed and the truth was his Boy Scout, whatever they are, leader was that detective. And then one day I was smacking on my girlfriend, Judy. We were both in group homes together, Judy. She was like the love of my life. Actually, the first tattoo when I was 12, I put a J.
Oh my God, at 12.
Yeah, and I was in the school library macking on her, and I turned around and these fucking guys with trench coats come walking in, and they're like, Shane? I'm like, yeah, and they're like, come with us. And I'm like, fuck. And I don't know what the fuck is going on, and they're like, you're under arrest, just selling weed, dispensing dangerous and illegal narcotics. And it was my first time with an informant, ratting on me, my first, all that. And I went to juvenile hall.
How was that your first experience in juvenile hall? How long were you there for?
Juvenile hall in the 70s was gnarly, way different than later. I went all the way till I was 17. I actually turned 18 there and went to state prison.
And what do you say was gnarly? Like,
well, there, at that time, everyone was like, long hair, and there were guys in there. This is the truth. There were guys in there with up tattoos. Like one of them had Queen and Foghat and these like band names. It's like just awful. But that was the system then.
Yeah.
Everyone was going, to YA or wherever, and it was okay because I'll tell you. There was a chick in the group home, Brenda, who was dating this guy, and he was like the shot caller in the hall. So when I got there, I had a message for him, and then they kind of looked out for me. I remember I sat at the table, and they were going to run me off the table. And then the guy's like, no, he's friends with, you dig? And then that was my first into the system, yeah.
But did you, so you liked it, you're saying? Like it was easy
juvenile
for you
hall,
to
prison, all of that. I had a bed. I had food. I had, I'm a street kid. So
you were comfortable.
yeah. And then, I actually, I remember I would think I'm safe. And even though you would think that world you're not safe, but actually to me, I was safe.
I understand what you mean completely.
Yeah. So I dug it. I dug it. And then what with that, right?
Well,
so,
how many times were you in and out of juvenile hall? Was it for different charges?
that charge. Well, then what happened from there is I went into the system, and then they placed me in a group home.
Okay.
And Judy was in another group home, so we were like
friends.
And then they were like, "Okay, Shane, are you going to go to school, or you can work for the county in the fire camps?" So I worked in the fire camps.
So you didn't like school?
No.
I know what you mean.
It wasn't cool. I wasn't a cool kid, but in the fire camps, I was the littlest kid in there. I was the littlest, and also with that. You get picked on. You dig?
Yes.
But I was a smart ass, and I was ambitious. I knew I'd go to prison. I knew I was headed for all that, and I knew it. And so
you played that role correctly.
The fire camps now. There was a kid named Alvin Romero. And they were all 17, 16, 18. I'm 12, maybe 13, right in there. And we had a camp dog, Bummer. And we'd be in the back of the truck, and they'd be driving us up and we'd cut down trees and do all that shit, right? Okay, so we're in the back of the truck, and Alvin's got our lunch is and he's throwing it, and the dog's in the back's, the tailgate's open, and the dog's chomping, and he throws it a little further, and the dog and finally he throws it, and the dog bum, and we just drive away. And then like the next day, the dog comes limping into the camp, and again I saw, like, I don't know why he was that way, but he used to beat the out of that dog, and I mean it hurt my heart. He would like grab it by its leash and swing it into trees, and
that's not nice.
But that was my first understanding of like jail and juvenile hall and prison. They're just people that are soulless. I mean, they really are. Yeah. I mean, there's the best people I ever met. So don't get me wrong. But there are soulless in there, and I would hurt my heart when he would beat on that dog. It would just kill me. But I'm glad he ain't throwing me into the tree.
Yes,
Big.
yes.
So from that. One time, I would escape. I escaped twice from
How
juvenile
did you
hall.
escape?
You want to hear it?
Yeah, tell us.
That time, one of the escapes, they would let us into the central part of the juvenile hall, and there was a gym off to the side, and the cop would open the door, and we'd all run into the gym to get the
balls and
dodge
stuff like
balls
that. Yeah.
or whatever the we're doing. And there was a room off to the side, and sometimes the equipment would be in there, and we ran in the room, and under the desk was a key. And there was a door. So 3 of us were in there, and we're like, and the key worked. So we put it back, and we're like, okay, next time that they let us in there, we're going to run to the key, hit the fence, and go.
Yeah.
And we did. And we hit the fence. They were on us. One of the kids, they got him. They got my shoe. As I was going over the fence, they got my shoe, but they got the other guys, and they pulled him back, and we went. And then...
so you weren't even able to escape.
Oh, I got out. No, they got my shoe, but the kid behind me didn't make it. But me and another kid made it, and then what they do when they search for you, this is good for whoever, but they circle search. So they make a perimeter. And then they make it wider, and then they make it wider. You dig? Looking for you.
Yes.
So the move is to stay in the perimeter hidden, and then you dig? So that's what we did. We waited a couple days.
Oh,
And
did you guys have food, or you guys were just starving?
No, we're starving. We're starving. But we just waited. We knew that they were going to do that, and we knew they'd give up. And then I went, of course, to see some girl, of course. And I was walking... I went to her house, and I was in her
with no shoe, or did you get a shoe?
Later, yeah. But they got my shoe. Yeah, they got my shoe. Yeah, I forgot that. That's right. So and then once we got there, we would call friends. They'd pick us up, whatever. However, but I ended up at my girl's girls, because really my girl was Judy, but she was back in. Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, they. I had to leave the house when her mom left, so I was walking and I was gonna go just hang out somewhere for hours until I could go back, and it was black and white, and it went this way, and then it pulled
back.
Yui, and I just kept walking, and the cop grabbed me, and he's like, "You ran from me, mother," and he was like really mad, and I'm like, "But I didn't. I just had walked the other way, I guess." You dig?
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, you ran, you hit," and then so I got an escape charge, took us back.
How did it go? How did it? What did they tell you when you went back?
Oh, I was a hero. Are you f***ing me? We hit the fence. We
You were the freaking coolest guy ever.
Yeah, we hit the fence. But then, then you can't wear your pants into the bedroom, into the cell. They would like make us take them off, and we would only be in our skivvy because. Okay, so then another.
So back then, did you get boxers or did you have to wear the
boxers? I won't wear those. Oh, I got a good stories about that shit too. What about crime fighters? That shit. Yeah, I was in a federal prison in the East, which I was a bank robber. Like eventually, I got.
Yeah, let's wait till we get there. Okay, so you're in juvenile hall. You're in and out.
In and out.
What would you say was the craziest thing you experienced in your juvenile hall years?
Maybe the fire camps that, but.
Okay, so
but
nothing too crazy.
Fist fights, all that shit, but not, not. It wasn't until like YA and all that shit.
So what led you to YA?
Pharmacy burglaries. I had a crime partner, and I started shooting dope really young.
At what age?
15 maybe, 15, 14.
Okay.
And it was in Long Beach. I was in Long Beach.
You were already living out here.
Yeah. And I hitchhiked back to Colorado. My grandmother lived there. And she would never let me stay at her house, and I never understood why. And I've never told anyone this before, but I'll tell you guys. My mom and I got busted together. She was a dope.
That's why you were with your grandfather.
Right.
Got it.
But when my mom and me got a case, I had a switchblade, and a friend of mine, we were walking home, and he was like, "Let me borrow your switchblade," and he stabbed this kid's basketball. And that night I'm home, and my mom's like, "Turn the lights out. The detectives are outside." And I'm like, "Ma, you turn the lights out, they know we're here." You dig? But they knew. But they came in, they busted both of us, her for check fraud, me, and they took us together. Anyway, my grandfather died. We're at my grandmother's house. And I come home one day. This is how I end in the streets. My mom's like, "One of us has to go." And my bags are by the door. And I know it's me. So I'm like, "Okay, I'll go."
That sucks.
But later I hitchhiked back there. And that's when I got my pharmacy robberies. And how
did you do the pharmacy robberies?
Yeah. And my grandmother's like, "Shane, I couldn't sleep there. I never understood. So I would go to this park and I would sleep in a planter and then she'd make me breakfast, and we're eating breakfast. And she's like, "I don't care about any of the things you ever did, but I never understood why you stole your grandfather's gold." And I was like, "What?" My mom had stolen it and blamed me. And I'm like, "Oh my God." So "Give me the phone." My grandmother's like, "No," this little lady. And I'm like, "No, give me the phone." And I call my mom. I go, "Hey, Mom, I'm sitting here with Nani," we called her. And I'm like, and she's talking about my grandfather's gold. My mom hung the phone up. And I'm like, "F you, pinned." And at the time I left home, I wasn't a dope fiend yet. So I would have never done that.
Yes.
Later, a kind of prophecy, because I became a Tocado, I was a dope fiend. So I would do shit like that. But I mean, not with my family, but, I became a thief and an armed robber and all that. But, yeah, that was a drag. Then one time I went to my ma's, maybe when I was 15, and she had some boyfriend, and he's like, he's got to go. And she took me to an on-ramp and gave me $5. And so it was a real lesson, and it was a hard lesson with self-esteem, because if you're a guy or a girl and your own mother then you think I'm worthless. You dig? So when I talk at meetings and I talk to other drug addicts, what I always say to them is you are all worth something.
That's right.
You think you aren't, but you are.
That's right.
And even if your mom or your parents or whoever doesn't think you are, you all have value, every one of you.
That's right.
And that was like the biggest lesson in me with being an addict was the lack of self-worth. You dig?
I understand completely.
So one of the times I went back there and I'm strung out and there's no dope in that town, Boulder, Colorado. You know what I mean? So I'm like, there's a pharmacy. So I threw a brick through it and went in there and got all this just drugs, all kinds. And then I'm going. It was like a big front page article. Street kid, because I mean, when I go, I go.
Yeah, there ain't no stopping you.
Yeah. And I think I had 12 of them because then we stole some guns and then I was going in there. And I always think of me now, there's pictures of me online. There's like one video where they interviewed me when I was like 14 or 15. And I think, what were those people thinking when this little kid's walking in with a big old gun going, give me the drugs. They must have been, I mean, because me, I'd probably slap the gun out of your, you know what I mean? Well, I don't know, but.
Yeah.
So then pharmacy robberies and all that, and there they had a drug program in the state hospital. It's on the 6th floor. It was a lockup hospital. So they came and got me. I went to the and I escaped from there too. It was a lockup facility, but I was again the youngest guy there. Mm-hmm. They were all adults, and we made a key. At that time, toothpaste was metal. People probably don't remember this, but they weren't plastic; they were metal, and we made a key out of the. I didn't, but the guy.
Yeah.
And I went with them, and we escaped, and then I was out.
Wow.
I was out, yeah, for a while, because you escape, and then you're wanted, and just everyone's ratting on you, and yeah. I don't know. Does that make sense? No,
it makes completely sense.
And eventually. I was back here in L.A. I used to cop dope out here somewhere. There used to be $10 bags in Pomona, somewhere out here. It was like in the late 70s, early 80s, dime bags.
Wow.
Balloons.
Yeah.
Anyway. Armed robbery was my thing.
So that's what led you to going to YA.
Oh, yeah.
In the 70s.
Yeah. YA and eventually San Quentin.
But tell me about YA. Tell me about
gangs. First time I had real encounters with gangs.
Because you're how old? Like 15, you're saying?
Yeah.
And it's in the early...
YA. Yeah. And it's like Chino out this YTS and Fred Nella School for Boys, all that.
So tell me about your first day walking in there, your first experience.
Well, a lot of those guys look like grown men, believe it or not. I don't know, but they did to me.
Yeah, to you.
Did. Yeah, well, and then Preston School for Boys, that place. I mean, they were taking people to Tracy and shit out of there back then. But gangs, and I'm a white boy, so you know what I mean. And what I always say is, when you take everything from people, guys, girls, whoever, we divide by our lowest common denominator, which is skin color first, neighborhood second. That's always, at least my experience, that's been my experience. So, I get in with the wood pile or whatever, and I get indoctrinated into all that. And
what does that mean?
Well, what they do, in my case, and I'm kind of skipping, but it's okay. If you're smart and you're tough, they look for that.
Okay.
And they want, because they need smart guys, they need tough guys. In an organization like that, whatever it is, racial or whatever, they need smart, they need dummies that will do anything, that will go on kamikaze missions and shit. They need thinkers, so they start indoctrinating you. And the way they indoctrinate white boys and blacks too, because I was in the shoe war, which I'll get to, and actually a black guy saved my life in there, believe it or not. And that changed that whole racial, for me. It changed everything. But when you're locked up, and I think that the system is made that way, because they want you divided. Because if I'm fighting with you over skin color, then I'm not fighting with them. Because there's only a couple of them.
Yeah.
You dig?
Yes.
So what they do is they make you proud. Okay, first, you're probably from a broken home. You get there, you're scared. Whether anyone admits it or not, they're going to try you. And a lot of guys, when I got up further along to the point where I was the guy in prison, then the rule I made is we can no longer punk new guys because they might have the ability to be a good dude.
That's right.
But you're going to scare them to the point that they're going to panic and pee and go fuck. And then what you'll say is, well, they were going to do it anyway, but maybe not. Because when I first went to adult, I was 18 and I would there was a guy, a few of them, but they were like, I had to fight this guy like 6 times, man. And I remember laying in my bunk and I had all these bank robberies. I was facing all this time. I had state cases, federal cases. I mean, I was and I thought, I would lay in my bunk at night and I would think, man, I'm not going to PC up. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But I was like literally like hanging on by a thread because I knew I'm going to have to fight this piece of shit again. And finally, some older dudes were like, he's not going to give up. Just leave him alone. Finally, but a lot of guys do give up before.
Yeah.
At least in my,
Your era, your days, your time.
Right. And then so when I reached a point, and I've been out of prison 30 years.
Good for you.
And one time we were in the band room because I play music, I have records, and we were in the band room and there's like the guitar player, me, the guitar player, the drummer, the bass player, and everybody's in there and they're getting out. We're all getting out at the same time. This is in the early 90s. I'm jumping ahead a little, and they're like, what are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to Florida. What are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to Oregon. Oh, what are you going to do? I'm going to Arizona. They're like, what about Shane? Oh, Shane, he'll rob the cab driver when he gets out. He'll never stay out. And I'm the only one that stayed out.
Oh.
I'm the only one. They all got life without. One of them's got life without for shooting a cop. Another one just did 30. He might still be in. Another one did 15 in Florida. And I was the only one because I looked at it different.
Yeah. Wait, let me go back.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're okay. Tell me about the difference between juvenile hall and YA for you.
Well, when they first started talking about YA or people were going there, they were catching the chain there or whatever, I looked at it like it was the elite. I wanted to go. And that's fucked up. I get it. But when you throw a kid in the street when he's 12 or 13, his sense of values are, so the system and group homes, jail, juvenile hall, YA, all of it was good to me.
Okay.
I mean, it was good to me.
You lived it that's what you wanted and that's what you did.
But going to YA, every time you go, county jail, juvenile hall, YA, county jail, state prison, federal prison, you're going to get, until you reach a point where you know everyone, you're going to get heart checked. I mean, that's just going to happen. There's just no way around it because they got to know if they can depend on you
or not.
And so, I had very little self-worth. So, I think I walked around with black eyes the first month.
Oh no.
I had the ID cards with black eyes. I fight all the time. Like that was.
Especially because you were small and they would want to punk you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Horribly. But
you stood up.
It makes you strong,
Yeah.
YA was a real lesson in gang politics, prison gang politics, because I don't know about now, because I hear they dismantled YA.
I don't think there's any more.
They dismantled it, right? So where the are they sending everybody to? You do all your time in Central Juvenile Hall or Silmar, or where do you do it?
Or they're just getting charged as adults.
Oh, they are. Those poor kids.
Those poor
15-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's horrible. That's but so because I heard they were getting rid of YA, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, that's a good question. I don't know where they're sending these young men getting charged. I honestly don't know.
Because I heard what I read, because I try to keep on it, the pulse of it all.
Yeah.
Because I always feel like if I can help one person not become that
Yes.
fodder for them. But my understanding was that they're going to let the counties deal with it. So what are you going to put a guy in Central Juvenile Hall for 5 years? Because if you're 16, YA went till
25.
24 or 25, right? Yeah.
Because that was like juvenile life till you're 25.
Right. So because when my pharmacy, the last cases, big cases I had before the bank robberies, they were like, we'll give you a choice. You can take the YA number or you can take an adult number when you turn 18. And I was like, I'll take the adult number. And then
Why did you choose to take the adult number?
Because it was less time.
Of course, got it.
It was a 3. It was a 3 or a 2, 3, and 4, a 16, 2, and 3. They used to sentence you like 16, 2, and 3, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was thinking, YA, I'm going to be there till 9 years or something, So I was like, that.
At what age did you get out of YA?
The first time?
So you went back a few times.
17.
Okay.
17. I went to a group home in Long Beach.
How were the group homes before? Just like a bunch of kids?
Well, I remember when I was 12 and in the group homes, I had tattooed myself. And that's how I learned about tattooing. There was a kid in there. He had it. And I was like, what is that? He goes, it's tattooing. We'll show you after dinner. And my grandfather taught me to draw. So I always tattooed. So I tattooed myself. And I remember I went to breakfast and the group home father was Jen and John. John was like, he started laughing at me. I go, what? And he goes, well, now you can never be a spy, Shane, because you have a mark on your body. And I remember I was so young. I thought,
yeah.
And the truth is,
Yes.
I'm not one of my James Bond. Get the out of here. You know what I mean? I'm fodder for the system. I'm not gonna.
Be a spy for sure. So tell me a little bit more. So you got out of YA. And
I went out. I would run.
You went on the
run. I
run.
would go home and I'd run.
Okay.
All the time, and then I'd wait till they catch me. But usually, when they catch me, I'd have another case.
Yeah, you never were like stable whatsoever.
Oh, no way.
Whatsoever.
No way. I was.
You were always using.
Always a drug addict.
Always.
Bad drug addict.
Okay.
Bad.
And tell me about your first time going to the county. And what was it
LA
for?
County.
LA County, and what was it for? Or any county?
Glass House.
And
they used to have
downtown?
Parker Center, yeah, the Glass House. They had the misdemeanor tank and the felony upstairs, downstairs, or something like I remember. And I went to Glass House, but by then there were guys I knew, because the thing is about the system. Well, okay, California, you're in occupied Mexico. Just to be blunt.
Yeah.
And the system is controlled by the Mexicans. Like they control it. The county jails, all of it. There's just no way around it. So you might as well just, you dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but there were dudes that I knew that we had been in group homes in juvenile hall, and you know what I mean? So
Throughout
it's just
the
like,
years.
oh, Shane's here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was the sheriffs that, because they'd whip your ass and
Did they ever whoop yours?
a couple times. Oh,
In the Glass House?
no, at the count when we went to Central. When we go to Central, me being young, baby face, the first thing they start doing is, are you fag? Are you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, they put me in the crib tank. 9,800. And one time they put me in the crib tank. And
you're white.
because I was a smart ass. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was the first time I ever saw like 4 or 5 guys overpower someone. And the guy, I remember when he went in there, he said, please don't hurt me. And I'm like, oh, you're dead, dude. You're dead. You're dead. You're dead. And if you defended them, they'd be like, look, dude, if you don't give them to us, you're next.
Oh.
And I mean, you can be the toughest, baddest in the world, and 6 or 7 guys can overpower you. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
So at that time, that was the first time I ever saw dudes a guy, and and you get real callous in there. You get to the point where, but it was with that, with the only problems I ever had in jail was with the black guys. Never anyone else. Not really.
And was it just because of race?
basically.
Not because you.
I think that they punk white dudes because a power thing. I don't think it has anything. I don't think they like. Maybe they do. I don't think so though. One time, okay, I'll give you an example with me. If you got a case in Soledad, you would go to Monterey County Jail. And then, if you get a case in the state, you go to the county jail like in Quentin, you go to Marin. That's where you fight your case.
So basically you're saying if you get a case in jail. In prison,
and
then
they
they'll
choose to indict you.
Got it.
Then you're going to go to the county jail that prison is in. Now, the system's changed a lot, so you're going to have to forgive me.
Yeah.
But at one time...
Yeah, this is your story,
right.
your experience.
And I was in high power in A block in Monterey County Jail, which is north. And then you have the north-south thing, even white. Because I have SoCal big block letters on, or Old English on my lower back. Because I was always proud. I'm a SoCal,
That's right.
Right. So they were up there, and as soon as they see you go to the showers or whatever, they see that shit, then you're like... So there was a black guy in there fighting a murder from Soledad. His name was Slim Malone. And we were in high power. They only let two of us out onto the tier at a time. And it was like a pod, like the doors go around, like jail.
Yeah.
Like not like an old jail, like bars.
Like a new
the
one.
Newer jails,
the
right?
Newer pods,
and this is 1980, 81, maybe. I turned 18 in 80. I was 16. 82. It's 82.
I was born that year.
Okay. So and then we're in the cells, and he starts yelling, "Say goodnight, Daddy," to me. And that's why my kids call me Papa. To this day, they don't call me Daddy. I won't let them. And I'm like, "F you." And he's like, and there was a Norteño whose dad was a big shot in the NF in the cell next to him. And then so he was whispering through saying
things about you.
And I'm like, "F you. I'm not giving up. I've already been locked up since I was a kid. You dig?"
Yeah. Like
but they don't know that.
Yeah.
So
they don't know anything. They're just assuming.
Right. So he's yelling to get me and him out on the tier at the same time, and he finally got us out on the tier at the same time, and he came out of his cell in his chonies with the fucking lotion. And I'm like, yeah, f you, motherfucker. He goes, so would you rather I knocked you out and take it? And I go, you're gonna have to. Like, I'm not giving it up, dude.
It was probably so bad those days, huh?
And he did. We fought. He hit me, and the guards. After he hit me, like I didn't quite go out, but enough that I'm seeing birdies and shit.
Yeah.
Right. He hit pretty hard. The guards come in and they're dragging me by my feet out, and I get out, and the guards are laughing, and I'm like, what? The sheriffs, and I'm like, what? And they're like, we were betting. They had been listening on the. We were betting you were going to give your ass. You dig? Like they were betting.
Oh my
and then
God.
one guy that was like, but I was betting that you wouldn't.
And you didn't.
But, and I used to think, I hope when I get into the I see that mother, because I'm going to kill him. Like, I was like, I'll kill that if I ever see him. But that was the closest I ever came to that kind of shit happening
Oh,
to
thank
me as
God,
a young
right?
white boy. Yeah, well, I've seen it ruin guys. They don't get over it. You know?
I don't think it's
sad.
It's sad. I think, and you know what? I've had a lot of people that have been in YA here, and they've shared certain experiences. Obviously, that hasn't happened to them, but you know what? Like, it's like I feel like that has ruined so many young boys' lives, like the system. So it's good that they closed those places, because how many people didn't they ruin? How many young boys?
I'm telling you.
And especially, I'm sure in your days, your years, like it was probably 100 times worse.
I'm telling you that, and that was like, and we'll get to it, but as I rose up in the system,
yeah. Let's go back. Let's get you back. So, what are your charges for you to go to your prison where you did your longest term? Or tell me about your
armed robbery.
Your armed robberies.
Armed robbery and kidnap robbery. Armed robbery is 211. Kidnap robbery is 209. And kidnap robbery, I don't know about anymore, but kidnap robbery is if I take control of you and move you more than 5 feet, then that's a kidnap. Kidnap to me is throwing a thing over you, putting you in the trunk. You dig?
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Yeah, but no, if you take control, I don't know about anymore, but if you take control of somebody, and move them, then that's considered kidnap robbery. And my big thing was robbing pharmacies. I would go in there and get Dilaudid and morphine, any opiate.
How many robberies do you have?
That time?
That time.
So I think 12. I think it was 12.
And you went to prison for them.
Oh,
And what prison did you end up in?
state prison. The reception center was Chino.
Okay.
In the north, I think it was Tracy at the time, but I went to Quentin, and that was my first taste of
You went to St. Quentin.
the
your
Bastille
first
by the Bay. Yeah.
the Castillo by the Bay. You said.
Yeah, the Bastille by the Bay. Yeah.
Tell me about your experience.
I loved San Quentin. I don't like it. I loved it. I hear it's close. I hear now it's a low level joint. But when I was there, it was
like the highest
Folsom
of
and San Quentin were the two main prisons. And by then I was so adapted to the system between juvenile hall, group hall, all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
But the big weapon there, West Block was an honor block. East Block was the adjustment center, and that's where I went. The big knife in there was welding rods. We were sharpening welding rods and booking people. And that was the first time I saw someone really get booked.
How did you? Tell me about the robberies. How did you?
Do the
robberies?
I was just, I think I was an angry kid. I brought my prison photo albums and stuff. I look a lot different today than I looked then.
We'll take pictures.
But I was just really angry, and if once I would get a gun, then it would be like carte blanche. I could take anything from anybody because
Like it made you feel better.
well, once you do it, once you rob somebody, and now I actually feel like I need to do penance for it. But at the time, I'm a picked on kid, you dig? And then I get a gun, and I usually would have a crime partner. My crime partners, except for my bank robbery crime partner, but the crime partners always end up being rats. They always give me up because they have families. They have parents. I didn't.
Yeah.
So, I'd end up hooked up with some guy and we end up fixing, and then we get some guns, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'll tell you what, let's go rob the thrifties. You know what I mean? Like you cover me, and I'll go up over the counter and just grab everything I can. And at that,
so you didn't do it with the gun, or you did it with the gun?
Yeah. We had two guns, me and my crimey, and but I would always go over the counter because at that time, narcotics, they had to lock them up.
I think
they were Schedule A, I think Schedule 1. And they had to lock them up, but they could lock them in like a joint locker, like not like a big safe.
Yeah, like now.
It's very different because oxys weren't, it was very different, So I would go over there and go for the liquid Dilaudid, the liquid morphine, all that shit. And as many syringes or whatever we could grab. And once we did one, we'd do two, we'd do three, we'd do four, and then I lose track, and I'm just doing it.
And that's what led you to St. Quentin.
Yeah. Again, when they caught me, they gave me the choice. Well, it's kind of a convoluted thing, but I'll tell you. Okay, so they had a drug program, the family, and it was attack therapy. Have you ever heard of that? You guys ever heard of that?
No.
Oh, this is wild. Okay, Synanon started in the Santa Monica. They had a building right by the beach, and Synanon was a drug program, and the theory
like a rehab vibe.
Big rehab. It's the only time I've ever been in rehab. But they attack therapy. What they do is one of my back up. Okay, so they send me the joint. I get a visit. I'm getting really picked on. And I get a visit, and it's this woman, Barbara Callahan. And she came in and she said, and I'm like, visit? Nobody's visiting me. What the f*** are you talking about? So I'm putting on my blue, and I'm getting ready to go down there, and I go down, and there's this woman sitting there. She's got a beehive hairdo, and I'm like, what's up? And she's like, hey, I run this drug program in the state hospital on the 6th floor, and you want a piece of it? Would you like to go? And I'm like thinking, can we go right now?
No.
And she's like, you'd fit for it perfect. You're you've been robbing farm. You know, I looked at your, you know, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll go. So it was locked up. It was men and women. They took me maybe a week later. And it was everybody from Quentin, Folsom, all the prison, the guys, the girls too. I think at that time they only had 2 prisons, CRC and CIW. And they had one wing, we had the other wing, and it was attack therapy. So one of the first things they did to me is they made me put clown makeup on for a month.
What?
Because I was a
Clown.
joker. Okay, another thing they did, and this disciplines is what they call them. So, you know, they could be as small as, like, let's say you're thinking about your husband. And they're like, every time you walk through a door, you have to stop at the door and go, I'm thinking about my husband, not my sobriety. You dig that kind of thing?
Yes, that makes sense.
Disciplines.
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay, another one they have is they put a mattress in the middle of the room and you got to throw a tantrum. Now, I never had to do that, but I saw grown men do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a long program. It was a couple of years. I escaped
Oh
from
my
it.
goodness.
Yeah, yeah. Another thing, I made friends with this burglar, this old guy. He had to be in his late 30s. And we were joking all the time. So they took a rope and they tied it to our belt loops, like 3 feet apart, to break us. And it broke us. He finally took the rope and broke it off and went. And they had a bench that you'd have to sit at. And he threw the bench down and stared at the wall because I drove him crazy. I'm a kid.
You're nuts.
And and so when we had a lot of fun, but so yeah, I was in that drug program and that was my another eye-opening experience because again, always I'm the youngest person there. There's adults there. I remember that they were looking at the butcher knives and they were like, "Man, I could get $200 for this in the joint," you know, that kind of shit. The guys, you know,
Yeah.
and they taught me how to use the speed bag. So there were good things that happened too. But one of the guys there was from Purdue, and he made a key out of the toothpaste thing, and we escaped. And that's
How you escaped that place.
yeah.
And you went on the run.
And then I got the banks.
Tell me about your bank robberies.
Well, I had a girlfriend. I was involved in LA punk rock. And this is early punk rock, like 1979 is the first time I saw the Ramones. And my girlfriend, there was a band, the Germs, and they were like a big band. And my girlfriend had a suicide pact with the singer of the Germs, Darby Crash. And he died and she lived. Now, I just did an article for Cream magazine about it, this rock and roll magazine. And he spoon tricked her, which is when you're a dope fiend, you know, and you're both using in the same spoon. You draw it all up and then you throw water and you're like, here's yours. You know, you're cheating.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, spoon tricks, they're called. And
I never heard that.
really, well, you guys aren't dope fiends. You're not dope fiends, right?
I never shut up.
Right. Okay. So I knew he spoon tricked her, but they had a suicide pact. He died, she lived. And then everyone in punk rock picked on her. Like it was her fault. He died. He was a legend. Da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, that guy walked around his whole life, or ever since I knew him, talking about killing himself. He was not going to live long. It's not her fault.
Yeah.
Could have been anybody.
Yeah.
She was 12 years older than me. She was 28. I was 16 when we met.
Oh.
So I ended up with her. And I remember the first time I ever saw her, I thought, her name's Casey Cola. And you can find her online. I mean, she's there. This is all like real, what?
Searchable.
Yeah. So we knew bank robbers, and we talked about doing bank robberies. And she was like very older. Now I think, God,
And she was a user as well.
Yeah. And I think now she's a pedophile.
Oh my God.
Because I think I'm fucking 16, she's 28. Now when I look at 28, you're going to date a 16-year-old kid? I remember.
Before it was like that a lot.
Yeah, nobody, yeah. And me, I'm a hungry kid, so if I can get a chick to take me home,
That's
they're
right.
gonna feed me, they're gonna take care
You
of
need that love.
Right.
You needed that love. That's
and
right.
And so I remember we were at the West Hollywood Sheriff Station after a punk rock show at the Starwood, was this nightclub in LA where there was a lot of punk rock shows, and this is 1980. And she was like, "Do you want fried chicken?" And I was like, yeah. So we went to her house, and her mom was a big advertising executive, and that's the house that she had the suicide pact with Darby. Anyway, she was my crime partner on the banks, and we had met a woman that was visiting a guy in Terminal Island that was a bank robber. And they had kind of told us how they rob banks. And when I would go cop, I used to cop at 7th and Spring downtown. There was a guy, Blind George and Popeye, and these old guys, and they were bank robbers. And so they started explaining to me, oh, bank robbery's easy. They're going to give you the money they're trained to. And, and you want to, I remember Blind George walked me around the block and he's like, you want to get a canvas bag in case they put a dye pack in it and blah, 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 blah. So me and Casey, we had kids. I had daughters, 2 daughters. They're grown now and have kids. Everything worked out. But she's dead. She died. She OD'd. But
wow.
not then. So one day we're downtown. We're broke. And she's screaming at me, you got to do something. I took care of you. I fed you. I'm just like, So I robbed a bank at 7th. And I robbed it on the bus. There was a bus downtown. The buses all go up 8th Street. It's one way. And then 7th Street's 2 ways. And at Flower and 8th, there's a bus stop. And if you go to Flower and 7th, there's banks. So I had Casey stand at that corner, watch when she could see the buses way up the street, raise her arm. And then I'll go in the bank and I'll stick it up. And when she raised her arm, I didn't go because I'm, it's fucking. But then I finally went. And once I did one, it's the same thing as the pharmacies. Then I'm on. Once I start going, then once I start on a run.
So did you rob all of the banks the same?
22. I robbed 22 in LA and 7 in San Francisco. I was a ponytail bandit. I put my hair in a ponytail when I'd rob them.
And how long was this? Like, how did
6 months.
So you robbed 29, you said, banks in 6 months.
Mm-hmm. And
you smoked all the money.
Shot it.
Well,
Yeah, all of it. And when they caught me, I had 50 cents in my pocket. They got me in San Francisco. They didn't get me in LA. But me and her, we robbed them. And she drove and you know,
did the work.
Our kids were already in the system. The state had taken them. Okay, let me back up. The first kid we had, I was 17.
I was about to ask you that.
Okay, R1. And I was when she was born, I was there and everything. The second kid we had, she was hooked, Casey. I was on the methadone at the time. And I was trying to get her not to shoot dope, but
While she was pregnant.
I would kick in bathrooms. She'd be in there. She actually went into labor. She shot a speedball and went into labor. I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
Oh my
I was in the
God.
hospital at the time, sick. Yeah. So I didn't go to the hospital when Stormy was born because I knew it was going to be a scene because she's hooked.
And the baby was with drugs.
And she's begging for drugs. Casey's in there. And they're like, what are you talking about? You're having a baby. You know what I mean? Like, this is not the way it works. Dig? So when they test the baby, baby's hooked. Baby has to kick. They give it phenobarbital. It's horrible. I watched her. I went in there once. I snuck in there to see her through the window. And she's just she's kicking.
Oh, my goodness.
Horrible. I named her Stormy Skies over at Stormy Sky. Now we have she has 2 kids.
She's amazing.
Amazing.
Good.
I have a great life
God bless her.
Like, wonderful. Grandpa, they run around, But
oh my goodness!
But at that time, so the system took them, and then it's just me and Casey downtown.
And Casey ain't giving a poop.
The kids the kids are gone, and we're downtown broke, and so that's when we started the banks. And while I was in the bank robbery run, I went to children's court and talked to the judge, and he gave me the girls back.
While you were on the run.
Yeah, I had bank robbery money in my pocket.
Hey, how crazy is that? Like before now that would never happen. Because before, like, not everything's in the system. It doesn't move as fast as it moves now.
I was robbing banks. There was a custody hearing for the girls. And I went in there and talked to the judge because they took them technically on a PCP dirty that Casey got. We never did PCP ever. In fact, the P that we gave them was one of the girls' P. But he can't say that because that's detrimental to the child.
Yeah.
You dig?
Yes.
Now listen, I have really eaten crow in my life over this. So don't think that I wear this like a badge of honor.
No,
you know what I mean?
no.
I've done a lot of penance over this, which I'll get to. Because the kids, eventually when we robbed the banks, the kids went back in the system. And they were in there 8.5 years. Well, at that time I did 8 years and 23 days. And while I was gone, they were in the system.
Because Casey just didn't get it together.
Well, what happened on that, and we'll get to it, but I'll tell you real fast, is when they caught me, they had all these bank robbery photos of me. And they're like, sign these photos. And I go, I'll sign them if you let her go with the girls right now. Because they knew she had driven. They knew the whole thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, they went in the corner and they talked to FBI and the cops. And they come back and they go, okay, deal. And I go, no, I got to watch her walk out. And they literally took me with handcuffs. I was up on a second. It was in San Francisco at the robbery, homicide, wherever. And they took me up there and I watched her walk out the door. 3 days, I thought, oh, she's going to go with the kids and get a little house and a white picket fence. And she left them at someone's, never saw her again. None of us did. Never saw her again. And I went in for 29 banks.
So you would so you get caught, and you get caught for these, you have all these charges.
Which ones?
The 29 banks.
Yeah.
And what happens to court? Like, you go to court.
I ended up with 17 years for the feds, 9 years for the state.
Did you go to both? So tell me about the feds, because we haven't. You obviously unindicted, right? What did they, when you went to the feds? What did they tell you?
Okay, well, you always hear about the feds. You always hear it's Camp Snoopy, which isn't true.
No,
because you get a higher class criminal in there. You don't get tree jumpers and rapists and shit, but you get a lot of ex-cons with guns, a lot of conspiracy cases, a lot of gangs. RICO acts, that kind of thing. So the feds, the food was a little better, but it's the same shit. It's
same
prison.
shit. Exactly.
It's fucking prison, But during the bank robbery run, so I'm buying cars and dumping them, and the feds almost caught me in L.A. And that's when I found out I was a ponytail bandit. They fucking almost got me copping downtown. Because I'd go downtown and there'd be all the dope fiends, and I would buy all the dope. I would get a paper bag and I'd go, how many balloons you got? Give me them all. How many balloons you got? Give me them all. Give me them all. Give me. And then I'd go to a hotel
and just be stuck there.
Yeah. And then we'd shoot dope till we run out of money, and then I'd go rob another bank, and then we'd go back down. That was the routine. And one time I was in West LA. I was robbing a bank on PCH. Almost Manhattan Beach, Playa del Rey, wherever, right there. And the bank's across the street from the bowling alley. And I had a cab take me there. I'm broke. I can't pay the cab unless I rob the bank. Casey's in the car with me. Girls are still in the system, I think, at that time. They weren't with us. And I tell the cab driver, my brother works in this bowling alley. But what it is there's a door here and a door there and the bank's there. So I'm going to walk through the bowling alley in and walk into the bank, stick the bank up, go back through the bowling alley to the cab and drive away.
That was your plan.
So I fucking do that. I go through the bowling alley. I walk into the bank. The bank is on a corner, but it's kind of at an angle. Mm-hmm. So they can see the parking lot of the
bowling alley.
Of the bowling alley. But I'm not going to there anyway. I'm going through the bowling. So you dig? Like, they're going to see me.
Because you thought you were slick.
Because bank robberies back then, not now. Because now if you rob a bank with a young kid, he's going to go on Facebook and go, me and Shane checking in at the bank. You dig? Like, you ain't going to get away with it. Now everyone has a camera. No one had a camera then. Fucking, I'd rob banks. I'd go in there and everybody'd know I'm robbing the bank. And they would just be freaking out. But nobody's like...
Yeah, now it's like...
Now you're finished.
Yeah.
And everyone's a rat. Anyway. So I go in there and I had a day runner. I had a gun in my belt. And this is... I did takeover robbery. I did regular note robberies, takeover every kind you can imagine.
What is a takeover robbery?
Would be when you pull the gun and make everyone hit
down
the
on
floor. And then...
okay.
But I was doing note robberies too, where I would just raise my shirt to the teller. And she'd see the gun. And I'd say, give me the money or we're all going to die in here, kind of thing. Well, that bank, I went in there and did that because I wanted to be slick to get back to the... You dig? Mm-hmm. You want to cause a big scene. And she ducked behind the counter. And I'm standing there with the note and the gun. But I haven't... So I realized, I got the cab. I can't pay him. She's hiding from me under the fucking counter.
Yeah.
Everyone's so I just pulled the gun and I'm like, put the money on the counter.
To make it fast, yeah.
And I got $36,000 in that bank robbery. And I went, grabbed a bag, and I scooped the money with the gun into the fucking bag, and I hit the door. And I'm panicked, because now this isn't my plan. So I don't run through the bowling alley. I run to the fucking cab. And the fucking cab
Locked it.
No, he backed up and it turned off. It fucking stalled. And I'm sitting in the back of the cab. Now everyone in the bank is like this at the window.
Looking at you.
Well, I guess so. Because
Wow.
oh, there was a siren going off on the bank too. They had an outdoor window, but it's going woo 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 or whatever. So, but the cab driver doesn't know. He's still not hip. Dig?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at Casey and I'm gonna start giving her money. I'm gonna run because they're gonna be here.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna hoof it. The cab driver goes, hold on, and he goes out, opens the hood, fucking cab starts. We go. But so we get downtown. I say, drop me at 7th and Spring where the drugs are. Fucking buy all the dope. Go to a hotel. Next morning, I'm running back down there to get more. And I used to go down there and I would have all kinds of fucking money. And sometimes I'd be in a good mood and I'd give dope fiends money. I like it.
Hey, at least you were giving back.
Yeah. So, and then sometimes, so at that morning, I'm not in a good mood or whatever. And I'm walking down there and this one old dope fiend, is a black dude on crutches. He's like, Shane. And I'm like, get off me, crab. Because I figure he's going to ask me for bread, right? And he goes, no, come here. And I'm like, no, you, motherfucker. Because sometimes I get mad at him and I pull the money out and I'd go, it's out there. Fucking go get your own. It's there. You cowards, go. And some days I'd give them money and other days when they would beg, I'd go, you're begging. What's wrong with you? There's money. Go rob a bank. Go get it. It's everywhere. Because that's the way I look at it, you know.
I mean, it's true.
And you're a drug addict anyway, so what are you waiting for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not going to get any better. You know what I mean? So the guys call me over, and I'm like, finally, so I go over there, I go, what? You know, and he goes, Shane, the FBI's all over here. They got pictures of you.
Oh.
You're the ponytail bandit. Because they saw the cab, and they asked the cab where they dropped me off. Dig?
Yes.
So I'm like, this, and I fucking bail, and then I went to San Francisco.
And
we caught the train, and then we robbed the banks up there. One of the times up there, I'm at a light. Now, this is before car seats were, you know. So Casey's got Stormy on her lap, and we're arguing, right? I'm gonna make a right. And I got this old bomb car I bought for like $500. I'm robbing banks in it. She's like, I'm gonna go to prison, and she's like screaming at me. I go, nobody's going to prison, or you're not going. Don't worry about it. You know, like this is my gig. This is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that goes to prison, and I'm mad. So I gun the car and I hit the corner. Now the sun's setting, and Geary Street in San Francisco, there's 5 lanes. Usually they park in 2 of them. So when I hit the corner and I look, and the door's open. Casey's like this, and there's no baby in her lap. And so I slam on the brakes, and I look in the rearview mirror, and there's Stormy in the middle of the intersection with all the lights shining, and the car's honking. So I put the car in park, jump out of the car, grab the kid, jump back in, and go. And I think to myself later, I wonder what all those people thought when that baby came out of the fucking car like that.
Wow, that
Not
is
cool.
No, not cool at
Not cool.
all.
And later, to this day, when I see Stormy, I think, God, she could have got run over by the back wheel.
I'm sure
Another car could have ran her over.
I'm sure all kinds of things go through your head,
And-
like when you go back, like even right now as you're sharing your story, you know, you're and all these things you're saying it's like super intense, like like it's not okay.
Yeah, and it's
you
not
know,
cool.
like not cool.
But so the problem with that is, okay, so when a guy goes to jail and he's a baby killer, we're on him. You motherfucker, we got kids, you know what I mean? Like, fuck you, we'll fuck him up. That could have been me.
Yes.
Had Stormy been hurt.
Yes.
And then nobody would have listened to me, that it was just a circumstance. You dig?
Exactly.
Later, after Casey left him, I thought to myself, she let that kid go out the door. Maybe she threw the kid out the door. Because think about if you're a mom and you have a baby on your lap, or I did, not even a mom, right? And I'm around in the corner and the door flies open. What are you going to do?
Grab your baby.
Why wouldn't she? What did she do? What was that? What? How'd the
Yeah.
door open?
Yeah.
But I didn't think about it at the time.
Of course, because obviously you're racing, you're
I'm
on
robbing.
drugs,
I'm in the
you're-
middle of robbing.
Like
I'm-
you're not.
yeah.
You're just a mess.
Yeah.
Like a
little
freaking
bit.
a huge mess,
Yeah, a
you
little
know.
bit.
And Casey just makes you even more of a mess.
Yeah. Because she's screaming at me about
No,
all this.
well, you know what it is.
Yeah.
I just.
Yeah.
I know how it is to be on drugs myself, and I know how it is to be on drugs with another person, and everything's just chaotic, and the
Yeah.
woman does make things way more chaotic.
Yeah.
Like we make the man a disaster.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah,
because
yeah.
we're just going. You want the drugs, and it's like, it's just a mess.
Well, and I'm feeding us.
Yeah, you're the one. You know. Okay, so you get caught in San Francisco. You go San Quentin. San Quentin. You get this program. And you're
The drug
out.
program. Okay, that was the farmer. That was before that.
Yeah, okay.
The robberies.
So-
But it's okay.
yeah,
But,
so
okay,
you're
we
in
go to
San
the drug
Quentin.
program. I escape.
Yeah, you're in San
I
Quentin
go to
now.
Casey's. Mm-hmm. Okay. You want to go back to
Yeah,
Quinlan's?
we're in prison.
Okay.
We're in San Quentin now.
Yeah, I got my belt buckle
You see
from
that belt buckle, guys?
from the hobby shop. Quentin had a good teeth program. They were giving gold teeth. That was cool. Quentin at that time,
And how many years did you do in San Quentin?
13 months.
Oh, it was 13
The
months.
feds. Yeah. Not a long time.
Oh, the feds picked you up from San Quentin.
Yeah. I went to Oakland County Jail down. Yeah. Actually, I went to, now if I think about it, I went there twice.
San Quentin twice.
Yeah, twice. Once when I turned 18 into the drug program, and then the second time on the violation, as they were indicting me. Because I got indicted on 14 bank robberies in LA, 7 in San Francisco, and I caught the goose up to there, and then they moved me to the county jail to fight the cases.
Got
so
it.
it was 2 times there. That time, 6 months, 7 months, maybe. I went back to my same cell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but the system was smaller too.
That's
then.
definitely true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a C number.
I can't even say, well, let me ask you, what was the worst thing? Because you said you liked it
Worst thing.
in San Quentin.
I still see the thing that I always had an advantage over everybody is that I always had girls that liked me. So I used to get visitas big time, and I hit the bag. I had dope in there. I dealt dope in there.
Ah.
And the problem with that is jealousy.
Got it.
You know, but I got more into dealing drugs in the feds.
Okay, so
Quentin was kind of overwhelming. You know, like think about it. You know, it's like 5 tiers high. It's been moving since the 40s. You hear all about it. It's the Bastille by the Bay. You know what I mean? Fucking, they got death row there. The gangs have control of it. You know, they says painted on the wall, sewer controller, you know, because the South has control of the yard.
oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. That was my first taste with that, like real hard taste.
Tell me about that.
Well, when I got there, it was painted on the lower, there's upper yard and lower yard, and it was painted on the yard, sewer control. Somebody had gotten it literally and painted it.
And the guards allowed that.
I think the thing about Quentin then, I don't know, I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
But the chow hall, when you look up in the ceiling, there's silverware in the ceiling because dudes would throw it up there. And I mean, it's huge.
Oh, wow.
Quentin's huge. Like the best films I've ever seen of San Quentin is Blood In and Blood Out. You see the chow hall? That's Quentin. They filmed that at Quentin. That's the chow hall.
Yeah.
And you know, they got the gunner and they have a trash can filled with sand that they shoot the warning shots into. You know, that kind of thing. You dig?
Yeah.
Blacks eat on one side, Mexicans and whites eat on the other side. Blacks, border brothers and norteños eat on one side. South and whites eat on the. You know, it's a mess.
Yeah.
I don't know about it anymore, but
Yeah, this is your story.
But I was like, I'm in the big time now. You know what I mean? But the thing about prison then and now, probably always, there are some real f***ing soulless motherfuckers in there that just want to hurt people. They you know, there's 2 sides of it. Okay, you got dudes like that taught me how to iron my clothes and taught me how to be real, you know, like Bonnaroos and fuck shine just the tip of your shoes. That was a YA thing. We would tape our shoes and just shine the tip. The brown boots, you know, same as state prison. Brown boots and blues. I don't even know if they have those anymore. Now they wear jumpsuits or something, right?
In the feds, you wear jumpsuits.
Right?
Yeah.
And there they had street clothes. There were dudes in there.
Yeah, especially back then.
Yeah, there were legends. Tommy Shea was from Oakland. Tommy Shea. Jingletown. He was like, hey.
You just got a memory right now, huh?
Yeah. He's like, I know where to get elephant bells.
What is elephant bells?
They would wear these bell bottoms that were, they cover your whole shoe. And that was like a fashion thing in there because, okay, prison fashion, they're 10 years behind because it's a joint.
Especially back then.
So dudes were wearing slingshots. I guess wife beaters they call them now,
Yeah.
but I get offended with that. I'm like, no, it's a slingshot, not a wife beater. You know? I don't beat wives, so.
Yeah.
But and elephant bells.
That's what they were called.
3/4 sleeves. Yeah, man. And I wasn't into that shit, but they were. You dig what I'm saying? And that was a big fashion thing, dude. Prison fashion, man.
It's like a thing. You got to be dressed.
Folsom cuffs. I shouldn't give this all away. Folsom cuffs, you don't show when you roll your pants up. You fold it back so that it's not the lighter part of the denim showing. I can show you guys. My cuffs aren't. I don't have cuffs. I have elephant bells, sort of. But I can show you because Folsom cuffs, you do it a certain way. You wear your beanie a certain way. Like you only fold this up a little. That's a Folsom beanie. You know, Quentin, you did it. Everyone does it different.
Okay.
Then.
Yeah.
I don't know anymore. I don't know, but.
Well, thank God you don't know anymore.
But I loved it. I love that shit.
I know what you mean.
I mean, I figured I'd spend my whole life in there. So, you know, I was that guy that was going to be that guy, you know. But luckily, my kids needed me.
Yes. So you got picked up by the feds while you were in Quentin. Mm-hmm. And tell me about that. How did that go about?
Well, they moved you first to Oakland City Jail. Now that jail's gone. And I had a San Francisco number for the feds, 827-07011. And when I got to Oakland, they just busted all the Hells Angels. So I knew Sonny Bar, all those Hells Angels. And when I went to court, I had long hair. And I went to court and tattoos, prison tattoos.
Yeah.
Some street ones, but mostly prison tattoos. When I went to court, the marshals put me in the Hells Angels tank. And the Hells Angels, I'm not a Hells Angel. They busted all of them. It's a big case. You can look it up. Mm-hmm. They had some rat. Some guy was a rat, and he was actually a fed, and he got patched in and whatever. I'm not a biker, so I don't know anything about that shit. That's not my world. But so I'm in that holding tank with them, and I'm the only guy that ain't a Hells Angel. So what do they think? I'm a rat. What am I doing in there? I'm a plant. I'm whatever. But then we went to arraignment, and they chained us all together, and we go to arraignment, and the federal judge is sitting there. It's the magistrate, and they're like, on this day you did with force, violence, and intimidation, robbed the bank. On this day you did with force, violence, and then they all start looking down at me because they're reading these
29 counts.
These charges, and they're reading them, and they're like,
so
then I was in, because then they're like, oh man, he's a fucking crazy bank robbing kid. You dig?
Yeah.
So I caught the chain with them down to Terminal Island after that, and started fighting my case. Now when I got to TI, Casey visited me once or twice, and she brought me dope, and that was the beginning. Because I had another girlfriend, Michelle, who I called the Saint, who we ran dope for me the whole time I was in the feds until they shipped me to Lewisburg in the East. Because eventually I got 4 disciplinary transfers in the feds. Four of them.
And how many years did you do in the feds?
8.
8.
I did 3.5 in SHU there.
Tell
I did
us,
a SHU program there.
Okay, so you're at the feds and you get how much? What did you get sentenced to?
17 years.
17 years.
And I thought my life was over. And there was a guy in there named Old Man Jimmy Thomas. And Old Man Jimmy Thomas was a legend.
And the feds.
I got pictures. I'll show you the pictures. I got pictures of him in Folsom in the 60s. I got pictures of him in Folsom when Johnny Cash played there.
Oh, wow.
And Atcha hit Johnny with a fork. Do you know that story?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
One time he came there and played, not the first time, and a dude in the mob Hatchet, they called him. Mike Eisen, I think was his name. It is. If I got the right guy, because I was just talking to another friend of mine about him. He was a legend and a killer. And he took a fork and threw it and hit Johnny Cash in the forehead and said, "You don't have to play that song every time you come here," when he played Folsom Blues.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little prison, whatever.
Little story, yeah.
But when I got to the feds, I was getting visits and I was getting dope. And that makes everything very complicated because the problem with jail or prison is everyone's watching you all the time. And when you think nobody is, they are.
For sure.
And everything you do, you think you're doing with no one seeing, but
Everybody's seen.
well, the gangs have wannabes that feed them information. So if you're a guy hitting dope, the gangs are going to find out.
Yeah.
And they're going to want their issue.
For sure.
But I would never give it to them. I was like, kill me. I don't care. Yeah.
Girl, that's just mine.
Yeah. I was like, I go through too many changes to get it, so I don't know what to tell you. You want to go get your shit, kill me. And that was a problem. That was a problem, you know? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not some tough guy. I had a hard time. A lot of times in prison. It's fucked. It's survival of the fittest. And you know, when you first go in there and you're a kid, if you meet someone that you're lucky enough that takes you on the wings. But what happened with there was I met old man Jimmy Thomas. And old man Jimmy Thomas was Eddie Bunker's buddy, and Eddie Bunker wrote those famous prison books, No Beast So Fierce, I think, or he ended up being in Reservoir Dogs. He was a movie star later, and he wrote books in Folsom.
Okay.
And he wrote about Jimmy in those books. But I didn't know Jimmy's old lady needed a ride to the joint, and my old lady was coming, so I gave his old lady a ride, and me and Jimmy hit it off. And Jimmy had 13 murders. He had murdered people in prison. He had done time everywhere. He taught me everything. He taught me how to make knives, taught me how to kill people, taught me everything I ever wanted to know. The world opened up to me when I made friends with him. Old man Jimmy Thomas is from San Fernando Valley. There's a movie that Eddie Bunker wrote the script for that's called Straight Time. It stars Dustin Hoffman. You guys can look it up. He was out when that movie was being made, and they were filming bank robberies, a bank robbery movie, in San Bernardino, and he was the technical advisor, Jimmy. And him and his crime partner were going to and really robbing banks in the rest of the day. They're
wow.
on the movie set, and then they're robbing banks. So Jimmy took me under his wing. This is in Terminal Island, and there was a guy, Longshot Segovia, who's another legend. He was in Folsom with Jimmy, and they called him Longshot because he always had the racing form in his back pocket. Old guy. And he said, like father, like son, and I was so proud because I was like, yeah, I want to be that killing. I mean, I was a nut, you know?
No, yeah.
There was a time Jimmy told me that Bugsy Siegel's bodyguard beat the shit out of him in the county jail, and I didn't believe him. I didn't believe that shit. Think about it.
Yeah.
Some old guy's telling you Bugsy Siegel, like get the out of here.
Yeah.
And an old guy drove up, old man Pete, that was older than Jimmy, that was like, I remember you in San Quentin in 1948. You were scared. And I had to fight that bodyguard 3 times to knock him out. And I was like, holy shit, it's true. Did it. So Jimmy used to tell me in there, Shane, they're going to, the feds have something for your ass. You better calm down, motherfucker. They're going to send you like to Lewisburg or to Marion, or they got something for your ass.
Yes.
And I didn't.
You didn't care to
I
listen.
didn't listen. And I started getting disciplinary transfers. I went from.
And you got those because you were fighting?
I got those for drugs.
Okay.
Dirties.
Okay.
Everyone's ratting on me.
Yeah, because you were bringing it in.
Okay, here's the thing about okay, so I had another friend, not Casey, Michelle Bell from Punk Rock, started visiting me, and she was dealing heroin on the street.
Got it.
So the first time I got a visit from her, she spit balloons in my mouth. And I'm like, it's Christmas. And I remember
That was it.
I could swallow the balloons, but not all the way. I could leave them in my throat.
Dang.
And there's a guy you guys might know, Victor Bono. Have you ever heard of that guy?
I don't know.
He's a South Side legend from Watts. Bono D. Watts, who killed a border patrol guy. And with Southside, he's a legend.
Yeah.
And he was there with me. And we were after the visit, I got the balloons. We're in the strip cell, and they're stripping us. And they're like, okay, bend over and cough. And I coughed, and the balloons came out, and they bounced on the floor. But the cop didn't even see it. He walked out. And I looked at Victor, and Victor looked at me, and I grabbed the balloons and hit the yard. But
Oh, my
at the
goodness.
time, Victor had 30 years, and he was trying to get out. And the bummer would have been, now when I look back on it, had the cop fucking got the balloons.
Yeah, he wouldn't have came home.
I would have had the cop. I would have gone, it's mine. You dig?
Yeah,
'Cause
for sure.
wouldn't
I
have
mean,
done
they're
that
all
I
yours.
wouldn't have done it to Victor. I wouldn't have done that.
So okay, so you get sent, and you went. What's the first prison you went to?
In the feds?
Yes.
I started in Terminal Island.
Okay.
Everyone did. It was before they built the jail.
The
in-
MDC.
Yeah.
I've been to
My
that
friends
one.
escaped from there.
Okay,
Bobby
well-
Garrison and Jimmy Wilson got out of there.
Oh, wow.
Do you know that story, you guys?
No.
Okay, I was in the hole in Terminal Island for a year. And T.D. Bingham, who was like the shot caller for the AB, was in there. And most of the time when I met the biggest or best dudes is in SHU, is when I was in the single cell or double.
How did you get to SHU?
Just
getting
becoming
30s, yeah.
I was a management problem. And I brought some of my chronos, you can see it and shit. Like my last one they did on me, it's like level, high, in, consider increase. You know, it's like you can't even go high.
Yeah, you can't get higher.
So I brought, because I thought you guys would want to
Wait,
see
let me
it.
ask you really quick. Have you ever been in any riots?
Yeah, a couple, twice.
Tell us about the craziest riot. Craziest for you.
I was in the East, and they rioted in South Central remember the Rodney King riots?
King.
And when they went inside. And me and my cellie was a guy from San Diego, Skip Eakes. And we were the only two guys. This is in Raybrook, New York. It's like a level 4. I was only there a year, maybe a couple months or 6 months on the yard, and then I was in the hole, and then they sent me back to Lewisburg. But when they rioted on the streets, they rioted in there. And the cops ran. So it was
just you guys.
Well, and I never understood in the riots, all the riots I've been in, they burn all their shit. I mean, everything's on fire. Everybody's it's payback time. So if you've ever f***ed anybody up,
You're getting it.
Or you can get them. And
like a purging.
Yeah. And it's terrifying for us. We did good, but we were the only two guys from California on that yard. And nobody likes guys from California in the feds. You know, because I mean, whether you like it or not, we set the precedent. Our gangs run everything. We are, you know, like we're some off-brand motherfucker from Nebraska. This is Quentin. This is Folsom. We dictate.
I understand. And you mentioned something about shoe wars. What does that mean?
Not the shoe war that the North and the South fought over shoes. Do you know that war?
No, but tell us about yours.
The story with the North and the South is that they got in a fight over a pair of shoes. And the guy I know, he's dead now, Robert Salas, Robot, they called him. He had a cold handle, and he walked kind of like that. He was a general in the mob. And he apparently was the reason they started that war. I'm talking about, okay, so I get a bunch of we'll get to the shoe war. Okay, we get to it. I'm in a permanent shoe program. The basement. And when I started in Terminal Island, there was a lieutenant there that hated me. And that was because one of my best friends is Gerald Hoff. And his crime partner and cousin is Tommy Silverstein. Do you guys know who he is? He's the guy that killed the guards in Marion, and he was locked up the longest in SHU. And Chainsaw, my friend, who I love with all my heart, he was his crime partner on the street. And they welded Tommy in the basement of Leavenworth until they opened Florence. And he recently died, but So me being friends with his cousin, gives you the affiliate thing.
Yeah.
And so the lieutenant hated me. This lieutenant, I called him Peepin' Tom. I won't say his last name. So you go years later, I'm on the chain. I'm coming off the bus. Lieutenant's him. He's standing there. Now, last time I seen him was in Terminal Island, California, years ago. And I come off the bus and he goes, "Where you been, Slick?" That's what he said to me. And I go, "All over." And he goes, "Take this one to the hole." And they took me right to the hole. And as I'm in the hole, they have a captain's review, which the captain comes and he goes, "Listen, man, this is a real mellow yard." They always say the same thing. Every
sure.
prison I've ever been in. "We don't know if we want a troublemaker like you on this yard," and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, "Well, listen, Captain, I'm just no foul ball. I'm not going to get in any trouble. I'm in a program. Just, let me out and I'll,
Yeah.
The same story. And then, So they're letting me out. And the way the way shoe blocks work, any block in a high-level prison is they have a sally port. They have the inside, the cell blocks, this door. Then there's a area where this door is always locked, and a yard cop comes and opens this door. So that way, if you take the guards in the shoe, you can't get out. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you got two guys with keys, and you never do they meet.
Yeah.
Right? So what I heard is the lieutenant and a black guy inmate from Baltimore and another guy from the gang task force. They're all in the sally port. I'm still in handcuffs in the common area at the shoe. And the lieutenant is telling the cop, "You see that guy there with the bolts?" Because I used to have bolts. I covered them. There, it was like that guy killed a black guy in the West. And he's saying it with another
black
inmate.
guy.
He set me up. So when I get to the yard, I walk to the cell block. I'm in B block, and I can just feel tension when I get there. And it's a common area because at that time, this is the early 90s we're moving into, from the 80s to the 90s. At that time, they had just started this big prison. They're locking people up for 30 years for like 3 bullets, 10 years a bullet, and a quarter ounce of coke. You're getting 30. The feds were just ridiculous. They were handing out like that, like popcorn. So when I get there, I just feel this tension, this racial tension. And I'm like, what is going on? And there's a guy ironing his clothes. He's a black guy. His name's Thomas Steiger. He's a famous guy. He had murders in the feds. He started with a 2-year sentence in the 70s, went to El Reno, killed a guy, went to Lewisburg, killed a guy, just a killer.
Yeah.
And I had been with him in Phoenix. We had been in the prison together, and there was a guard in the visiting room. He was like getting his chick to, him, and the guard gave him shit. So one time I'm walking to the chow hall, and he's like, hey, there's the associate warden. You need to go tell them that the visiting guard I saw. They made my mom eat off the floor. They made her put a plate on the floor. They wouldn't let me have a table in front of me. So they made her eat off the floor. He goes, I saw what they did to your mom. But he's manipulating me. He wants me to tell the warden to get the guard out of there, the associate warden.
Oh my God, wait.
And I'm like, it's hamburger day.
They made your mom eat on the floor?
Yeah. Well, they made her put her plate. Yeah, they wouldn't let me have a table in front of me. Like, I was in trouble. I was a troublemaker. So I was in the hole.
God.
So when I came out, they're like, okay, you can sit here, but no table. So, and it was Thanksgiving.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
yeah. Because, okay, now my mom, as horrible as that was, the gold, all that shit.
Was she already clean by then?
Yeah, and she was she would visit me, and she married this airline pilot so she could fly wherever I was. And I gotta say, we worked out a lot of shit in those visiting rooms. We sat for hours. You know how visiting rooms are. So that guy, Thomas Steiger, we're in Phoenix. He's like, you need to tell the associate warden. And I'm like, dude, it's hamburger day. I want my burger. F that shit, dude. I'm busy. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Get off me, crab. And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay. She's, I'll get your burger. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I go tell the warden, hey, man, what's with that cop? He made my mom eat off the floor. Go look at the tapes. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I know I'm a troublemaker, but
Yeah.
it's my fucking mother. Like, what the fuck? But I did that more for Thomas Steiger than I did for me, because I don't.
You didn't care.
Well, I care that my mom ate off the floor, but I'm not a whiner. I'm not going to go to the associate ward. You dig? I would never do that on my own. Yeah. That shit. So he gets me this great burger. So, okay, cool. Fast forward years later, and the cop tells him this guy killed a black guy in front of the other inmates. I get to the block. There's this tension. That guy that Thomas, he's, and I'm like, hey, and he goes, do you know what's going on? And I had no idea. And I'm like, what? And he tells me the story because he'd heard it. And he's like, you need a knife? And I'm like, yeah. And he gave me the fucking greatest bone crusher. And that's a no-no. He's black, I'm white. No fucking weapons between us, ever. But he did. So I got the knife, and I know there's tension, and I'm waiting. I'm going to stab the shit out of the first guy that comes at me. And they put me in a cell, and SSU's going in the cell, and they can't find it. They know I got one because I always do, because the lieutenant knew me from years when I was a kid. You know.
He knows you.
So they moved me to another cell. Now they moved me to the other cell. I put the knife in the fucking mattress, and they call me to a visita. It's my mom. So I go to the visit. Hey, Mom, I'm in fucking khakis. I'm on the yard. It's amazing because I'm always in the hole. I'm like, look, you know, and I come out of the visit, and there's SSU waiting for me. They're all waiting there, and they fucking take me to the hole. They found the knife. Got a knife case. So I go to the shoe. I'm setting up for the, okay. So we're in the shoe. There's a black guy, Michael. I won't say his last name. I love him. God, do I love that guy. And we were kids together in prison. You know, it's the thing that happens.
Yes,
he's from Oakland. But
you guys have a relationship.
We've known each other forever.
Yes.
Now, he's the guy in the Nation of Islam. He was a fruit of Islam. He's worked his way up. He's the guy. And we're in the hole together. And what they're doing in that yard, and you guys probably know all this, they have yard fights where they're putting enemies together, making us fight. And that lieutenant, the shithead, every quarter they move the lieutenant, like he's in the yard. Next quarter, he's the shoe lieutenant. Next quarter, he's the...
Yeah, I understand.
And they moved him there, and they let him for 2 quarters. He was in there. And I'm in there. Michael's in there. The head of the DWB, I brought a card he drew for me in there, and we're fighting. The races are fighting. We're trying to hit them. They're trying to hit us. We go to the dog kennel, the yards, and, you know, we're keistering knives. You name it, we're doing it. And I always say this, it's lame, but you'd be surprised what you can secrete in your body when you're facing
certain situations. Yes.
So one night they broke my feet. They have ambulatory restraints, which is when you're in shoe, they have cell extractions. You guys hip to that shit? Put the suits on, and they come in and beat the out of you. And they were doing cell extraction at the time, and they had done it on me a couple times, and they put me in the ambulatory restraints. And what that is it's a cement bed with hooks, and they chain you to it, and you're butt naked in there. And they fucking call region every fucking 12 hours and say, inmate and home, 827 is still in ambulatory restraints. One time I was in there, and I these 3 cops, I ended up fighting them, and I got one of them in the balls really good. Now, he became a New Jersey state trooper. So I'm in there chained, and he comes in with a baton and beats my feet. And he broke like all the bones, like my toes.
Goodness.
I'll show you my feet. They're fucked. And they didn't tell the...
Nobody.
No, he's sitting there at midnight. He's like, hey, motherfucker, can't have kids. You ain't going to fuck, you know, like that kind of thing. So we're in this. That's the kind of the what's going on in that shoe. It's just completely out of control. The guards are out of control. The inmates are, it's crazy. And one time, they would in the shoe programs, if they serve ice cream on the yard, they have to serve ice cream in there. And they didn't give us ice cream. And we're like, we're going. No ice cream, fuck you, we're going. And then the squad comes down, and what they do when they send the squad in, they all have football uniforms on. And they try to sneak down there. So if I was in the last cell in the bottom tier, I had a shower in my cell because they didn't want to move me to the shower because I was known to get knives or whatever. I think I brought my shots with me too, some of them, so you can read them. But They try to sneak down there, and what'll happen is they got a big camera. They got a lieutenant. Lieutenant is trying to sneak the key in the door, or the guy is, while the lieutenant's going, inmate in home, 82707, we've begun the direct order to cuff up. What do you say? And you're like, F you, and you got your, you're going to go. You're fucking greased up. You're going to fight. So they key the door. They run in. Each guy's a send to a limb. You can't beat them. You can try.
Yeah.
You ain't going to win.
Yeah.
And me, I would try to get to the camera. I want to body slam that camera before they hurt me, you dig? So, and then they take you down to the ambulatory restraint. Is this all making sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay. So they beat my feet. I'm in the cell. Midnight, I got a single cell. Fucking cell door opens. They throw a body in the cell. I'm like, I don't even know who it is. It's dark, sort of. It's never that dark and their lights are always on, but it's kind of dark in my cell. So I run to the door and I'm stepping over the guy. And I'm like beating the door and I'm like, hey, Lieutenant. I'm sorry. I'm like, hey, Lieutenant, get this motherfucker out of my cell. He's like, and home, and he walks away. It's Michael, this black guy that I've known since I was a kid. They had fucking on the 4-point tie down, beat his balls. They were the size of grapefruit. And he had to sleep on the shitter because his shit's up, right? So he goes, you know what they're doing, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, let's make a truce. We're enemies. And I'm like, okay. I like him. And we make a truce. And the black guys are sending the kites down. You need to hit that white motherfucker. Black guys are sending the kites down. You need to kill that. He's a good trophy. They call you trophies. I don't know if you know. They call you, you're a trophy. He's a good trophy. Kill him. So Michael and me make a deal that we're not going to fight. We're just going to, and we end up talking about race. And it's not cool. Because he's like, I want to see white blood run through the streets 4 feet high. And, he's crazy like that. Well, the truth is, but at the same time, he has somebody give the book Othello to us. And we're reading it back and forth out loud. It's Shakespeare. And that's the story of a black guy that's with a white girl. You dig? And Michael says to me, we argue. We're having a hard time. We're only there 3 days, but we argue.
A lot happened in those 3 days.
Yeah, it was during the holiday. That's how the lieutenant got away with it. It was the Christmas holiday. It was the Christmas 90. And Michael goes, so when you pray to God, Shane, what is a Viking god? He's Odin with one eye, and all that. And I'm like, you motherfucker, never heard me pray. And he goes, yes, I have. I go, when? He goes, when the squad's coming in, I heard you say, oh God, not again. Isn't that a prayer?
Facts. It is.
And he said, listen, the only God that can get you out of this is the God within you.
That's right.
And so he saved my life. He did. Because from that day forward, I started working on getting out. From that day forward, that was it for me. That was the day that I realized my enemy saved my life by laying that knowledge on me. I brought the letter he wrote me. Wow. I have it. He wrote it in pencil because we were in the hole.
Yeah.
And I looked him up recently, and he's been in SHU in the state 17 years. Wow. So he could save me, but he couldn't save himself. Wow. And that was when I began actually fighting my knife cases. I had knife cases in there and starting to try to get the out. And get back to my kids that were in foster care.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother animal because they were in foster care with 60 cats living in the house. When I got out the first day I went to see them, the first day I had to take a shovel to break the cat shit off their floor.
Oh my goodness.
They had suffered.
Oh my goodness.
And
well, we're going to come back to all of that because obviously, you have such a long story and, we want to get to.
Yeah, we got to figure out. But with that, when I was out, old man Jimmy was out. We were out at the same time and I couldn't get a job and I'd been in SHU and I was freaking out and I'd been and he was like, hey, you want to go get a pound of speed? And I'm like, yeah. And that day a guy called me and said, you want a job? And so I called Jimmy and I go, Jimmy, look, man. I want to try the square life. Like, please. And he took another guy with him and they drive in to get the speed, lost control of the car, hit a telephone pole and killed the kid in the passenger seat. It would have been me. And that was like a God shot. Like my life would have amounted to Jimmy pulling me into the driver's seat so he doesn't get a vehicular manslaughter.
Wow.
And so that was the beginning of me. And I got my kids and I've never been back to prison. And I can tell you guys that next time, I guess, the whole... Because everything worked out for me, but okay.
Yeah, so tell us what you're doing. So I
get out, and that happened. At first, I couldn't get a job, of course. And I have 2 pro officers, the gang pro officer, Don Hart, he's dead now, and my other one, David Elias, and, they're on me, and my kids are in this house with 60 cats. I literally took the fireplace shovel to break the shit off their floor. It was bad. It was bad.
I'm sure that broke your heart even.
And my oldest daughter had the sheen of sweat on her all, and I knew I was going to lose her. She was 12 or 13, and I knew some big guy's going to come along and grab her, and she wants out of that. You dig?
Yes.
So I got to do something. And a guy called me. I saw him on IG. He's on there, and he was like, Shane, you want a job? And I would have done anything to save those kids. And I got a job, construction camera, because I was a tattooer, but my parole said, you aren't tattooing, it's dens of iniquity, you aren't allowed to do that.
Because now it's like amazing, but before,
now they probably help you, but then they wouldn't. So I run there in the jackhammer, and one time I walked in the foster care home, and the woman had my daughter was spraying Windex in her eyes, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And then another time, she had slammed her thumb in the door and she's crying, Papa. So I told them they were going to come for the night. And I was like, get whatever you want because I'm not bringing you back. And we went to the house and like 3 a.m, the state called me and they're like, hey, asshole, we're going to put you back in prison. I go, you do anything you want to me, but you go over to that house, your foster care house, and see what the going on over there, then come get me and take. And the woman was actually kind of mean. She's like, I will. And they went over there, and then the next day they came to the house and looked at the house, and then we had an emergency hearing, and I got my kids back.
Oh my goodness! So it worked out.
It all worked out.
Because God is good.
It's always, but with that is sobriety and God, and you know what I mean. A little bit of all that, but
a little bit of everything, and your effort of you wanting to.
Yeah. Because I would get it all the time, but people are like, most guys wouldn't have done that. They would have just started another
life.
Yeah, but those girls didn't have anyone but me. They were trying to take them, when they were trying to take them from me, they wanted me to sign my parental rights away. And I did. But I made a deal. I'll sign them so they don't have to take me to court because it costs the state money to keep taking me to children's court. So I was like, I will, only if you make a deal that they get to stay together. So wherever you put them till they're 18, they're together. Because I didn't think I'd ever get out anyway, because I thought at least they'll have each other if they have nothing else. But
you did think about that kind of stuff, which is great.
I did 8 years and I got out, and I got some things overturned. I had a 924C count, knowingly carrying a firearm during a crime of violence, and I got it overturned. At that time, a firearm is anything that shoots a missile through means of explosion, and the gun I had couldn't fire. So how are you going to make it fire? It doesn't fire, so it's not a firearm. Now, if I made my phone be a gun, it's the fear makes it a gun charge. That's the difference now.
Oh, wow.
But now I'll come back. I'd love to talk about the system. They're factories with fences around them. That's all they are. They make big money with contracts, the feds especially, with McDonnell Douglas and other companies. They say, oh, hey, work in the factory. We'll give you a bottom bunk. We'll give you this. We'll give you that. You dig? If you work in the factory. And the factory's literally competing like Phoenix was a cable factory, and Lewisburg was making lockers, and and that's why there were good knives in Lewisburg, because it was a metal shop. Anyway,
just so you guys know, guys, we are going to be bringing Shane back to listen to more, have him share more of his stories and where he is actually at now. Do you want to tell him about your record really quick?
Yeah. Well, I wrote a book, and it's done 4th printing, tattoo machine. I collect antique tattoo machines. And I have a record. I just recorded my 2nd one, and everyone knows it's on every platform. It's everywhere. I play and I talk, and I mean, most people that know me know that.
Nice.
I just brought it for the hell of it. And then the photo album? Or what? I guess when we're on, are we good? Cut. But yeah. I went when I got out. November 23rd, 1990, the day before Thanksgiving, 1993. And never went back.
Well, congratulations.
And I was not the guy that would have. And now I, go to meetings and talk to, and that's when I saw you guys. I'm like, this could help a lot of people.
What do you do to stay out?
I will not commit any crime. I do no mind-altering substances.
Yes.
Like drugs were my main problem. I work a program, like a 12-step program. But basically, the key to staying out is gratitude, to be grateful. Because, it's very easy for us to fall into this, my life's hard, and you know what I mean? And the truth is, no, it's not. Like, see a paraplegic. There's this guy, Russ on Wheels. The guy's fucking paraplegic. He's so inspiring because He's
It's
like,
true
life is
though.
great.
It's true. We make our lives how we want to live it, and it's up to us.
That's
like you
right.
said, your problem was the drug addiction. I feel like that's the problem with a lot of these young
Oh,
men.
no.
Or with everybody almost.
Well, the whole problem with the country, fentanyl's killing all the kids 18 to, it's the biggest cause of death right now.
Yeah.
And they make money on both ends, and it's created, and they don't want to end it. They want people because it feeds the prisons, and the prisons feed, it's this big mess.
Yeah.
And until we
Get our shit together.
Yeah, because we feed them.
Yeah.
And cops, I'm sorry, my brother was one, but they're nothing but drug cops. I mean, they pull you over, what's the first thing they ask you? Where are the drugs? Where are the drugs? It's like, what are you, a pharmacist?
Yeah, go rob one.
Yeah, go get a rapist, or you know what I mean? Go help. There's people,
Yes.
but it's they're oblivious to it too. And the government, I always say this. It's not a class. It's not a race thing. It's not a gender thing. It's a class thing. It's the haves versus the have-nots.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how we're different. The truth is we're in this together because it's them versus us.
That's
And
right.
That's
I
the way,
agree.
and that's the system too. And they want to keep us divided. And I want to talk about my friends that are on the death penalty case. Those guys up in they indicted the alleged Aryan Brotherhood leaders, Ronnie and those guys, and Two Scoops and these guys. And I talked to their wives quite a bit. They're trying to execute them now for being the exact thing the system sets us up to be. Because when you're in that system, those are the people you look up to.
Yeah.
That's what you aspire to be.
Yeah.
So now you're going to execute them, like over prison murders? Like, get the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah.
Like, what do you, like, that is insane.
Yeah.
They created us. It's the green wall, they call it, the cops.
Yeah.
It's the system, and until we do things like this, and it's all great. I tell those war stories and they're all funny, and hopefully it all makes sense because it's a big swirling nightmare. But until we make sense of it and stop harming ourselves and others, we can't end with the best thing that could ever
Facts.
happen. Yeah.
Facts.
Because they have no problem handing out a 25-year sentence to a kid.
Nope.
No problem. They want him in there.
Yeah.
And until you realize that it's not glamorous and it's not, you dig, like
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it. But I mean, I hurt a lot of people, my kids, most of all. But until we start working on ourselves and
That's
try,
right. That's right.
and it's only going to get worse now, I believe. I know that there's a lot of advocating for prisoner rights and whatnot, but until they change the drug laws, and they completely, and now they're fixing on the streets. Like, I'm shocked by, there used to be a 90-day sentence to have an outfit. Now, and that's even crazier to me.
Because now you're like able to.
Well, and they're it's just horrible. It's fucking, and I mean, fentanyl's killing more people between 18 and 40 than any other cause of death, and we're not addressing it?
Yeah.
Like, what the man?
Yeah.
Like, the truck I drove here, it's a fentanyl truck because the guy that owned it died from fentanyl.
Oh my goodness.
So my daughter, Amber, her biological father OD'd, and she got the truck, and she's like, "You need a truck, Papa. Take the truck because you helped me. Because not just my kids.
You help others.
Yeah, as much as I can.
It makes you. It gives you
You
like a
only
purpose.
keep what you give away.
That's right.
You only keep what you give away. The rest is an illusion. Owning shit, all of it. You're borrowing it because when you go, you're going out naked.
That's right.
So, because I watched that happen 1 million times. So
Yeah.
it's all cool to have stuff, but the truth is, we only keep what we give away.
That's right.
So
right.
I'll come back. I'll come back.
Yeah, for sure.
If you'll have me.
Of course,
If
Shane.
you'll have me.
Nah, we'll have you for sure,
Okay.
Shane.
I hope the message got across this time.
I do appreciate you coming and sharing your story.
Yeah.
Bringing you back.
I appreciate you guys having
No,
me. Yeah.
for sure. And you guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram.